Hello and welcome to another video. Today just got a little backdrop here of doing the heroic icecrown citadel. Just soloing it in the 10-man version just to have something. I know we have loads of content that we can be doing, but I figured everybody's been spending so much time in Draenor as it is that you really don't want to see that even more on other videos. So I just decided to go back, get the achievement for this and whatever, while I talk about something that I see everybody else talking about. We've had enough time with the Warlords of Draenor expansion, about 3 weeks, and everybody seems to be getting their playtime in and then going to YouTube and talking about their experience. So I thought I would do the same. I started, playing this the night it came out, and actually I was, right from the get-go, I was very thrilled, not necessarily for any content that they had. It was for the fact that it wasn't, every expansion that we have, the night it starts, 3 a.m. here on the East Coast, right out of the gate, there's so many people that are just, flooding the place. Like, you trying to take, it takes forever to, like, the first few quests of every expansion are, hey, talk to this person, talk to this person. And then after that, you start dreading the point where you start getting the quests of, hey, kill 10 of these, because killing 10 mobs on, launch night of a new expansion takes you forever unless you take the time to actually group up with people and, try to tag kills that way. But it's so difficult. And in this expansion, I was, expecting the same thing. We've had that be the case ever since, the Burning Crusade. But fortunately, that wasn't the case at all. I got in there, and I'm guessing there's a lot of things that are phased out because it wasn't really a problem. Whenever we got to the point where you had to, set the flags and, kill the mobs of stuff to open up your garrison, as soon as I got there, it took me a few more minutes than it should have to kill the mobs. But other than that, I had a very smooth questing experience because, the game launched on the 13th. I hit level 100 on the 15th, so that's 2 days later. And I said I wasn't going to rush, and I don't feel like I did, but, I played for a good bit for those 2 days. So I got to 100, and so I spent enough time with the content. I wasn't rushing through the quests just to try to get to 100, but and I'm going back through it again with my Death Knight. But I think overall this is probably the most solid package as a whole. The questing was very nice, very, very nice, and a very wonderful and welcome change of pace. I think it's helped by the fact that we don't have flying in Draenor, which I know some people are upset about, but I actually kind of like. And I would say they should add it later, just because that's what I'm used to, but really I don't even think it matters, because the big thing I was concerned about was that, I want to get flying so I can, do routes around places for ore, for ore, for herbs, just for gathering material. But really, they really addressed that problem, like really addressed that problem in with the garrisons. And of course, those were concerns that I had before I played the expansion, and now that it's out, and I'm like, well, we can get anything we really need in our garrisons. And then you have the people that could very easily argue the fact that, a garrison only gives you a certain amount of resources a day, whereas if you're farming, you're just farming. If you want to farm for 2, 3, 4 hours, it's all dependent on how fast you can go with gathering those materials. To that I say, have more alts. If you want more herbs, if you want more ore, have more alts, because it's going to exponentially grow, based on how many alts you have. I've got a crap ton of of ore and herbs on my main character, and that's just with having a level 3 herb garden and a level 3 mine. I have an alt that's level 94 that's got level 2 stuff, I think, and then I've got my monk who has a I think he's got just level 1 stuff. But even just with my main by himself with the level 3 herb garden and mine, I don't need any more. I haven't taken to the auction house to buy anymore. If anything, I've put up a few stacks of 200 to sell on the auction house, which is good. Blizzard has, I won't even say eliminated the need for farming, but they have replaced the need for farming. They made it farming without having to farm, which is things still need a lot of resources. Like if you're going to make that latest and greatest mount or that high level piece of gear, you're still going to need a bunch of a certain type of resource. But they've got it now to where you can gain that resource. It's just going to take you time. It's just going to take you a couple days, so you don't even need to have to dedicate 5 hours or 6 hours to farming that material, and you don't have to go and try to farm other stuff to get gold to make that thing. You just need to wait time, and the stuff that you use to gain these resources are byproducts of you farming in the first place. So you just go out and farm whatever you want, whatever you can find, and if it's an herb, you'll get the seeds, and if it's stone, you'll get the I think the Draenor stone, I think is what it's called. And so you'll get that stuff either way, which I think is just a brilliant move. And at first I didn't understand its value, but now that I see the big picture with crafting and with this gathering stuff, I think they did a fantastic job, and one that I probably couldn't have done better. So that's what I think. And while we're on the subject of garrisons in general, overall, I love them. I love the garrisons. You can spend so much time there really doing nothing. So instead of pressing spacebar around Stormwind, I get to press it around my garrison, which is always nice, because if I can press that spacebar in seclusion, I would much rather do that. But I like the follower stuff, but that was only fun for a few. Well, I mean, it's still kind of fun, but it had its best appeal during the first couple of days, like doing the follower missions and stuff like that, because now it just feels like an obligation that I have to follow through with for no apparent reason. Like, I mean, I know I want my followers to have better gear, to be able to take them out on better missions, but it's like I get the little voice in the back of my head that says, you went 10 years without having to have followers go get your gear. Why are you bothering with this mechanic at all? And it's like, I hate feeling obligated to go back to my garrison to set them on new missions, whenever I could. That's just one aspect of the game that I don't need, but I still do it anyway, and I don't want to. And I guess you could say, well, then you don't have to, and that's always the case. But it's like, you have mechanics that are in the game that offer completely different things. Like you could say, like with the pet battles, the pet battling system, you could say, well, hey, I don't like pet battles. Then it makes sense to say, well, then don't touch it. But it's like, if pet battles potentially offered some crazy gear or something that you will need, that you can also, like the I can't remember what the stones are, but the ones that drop from highmaul, you can get those on follower missions. And it's like, if pet battles offered that would be something that it's like, sure, you could pass up, but it benefits you overall, like rating, gear wise or whatever. it benefits you to do it. But I don't know how to explain it. Followers just seem like another obligation, and I don't particularly care for them, but I continue to do them. So, you know, whatever. That's Blizzard doesn't care about that. As long as people are doing them, that's what they care about at the moment. But I love the different buildings you can have. I think the one that I'm getting the most, well, I won't say the most value out of, but I'm getting the most joy out of, oddly enough, is the Gladiator Sanctum. Which I say oddly enough because I'm not a PvPer. Well, I'm starting to become one, but in the past I haven't been a huge PvPer. I don't really do arenas. I'll do battlegrounds for a couple hours every now and then because I think those are fun. But I don't really put any commitment to it as far as building a arena team, you know, doing all that stuff. But I really like the Gladiator Sanctum because I'll go to Ashran because I do like the PvP there. You know, collect the bones, you know, all the goodies from there, and you know, I've got a crap ton, like 1,000, like 1,500 bones ready to be used for work orders. But I like, you know, coming back, and even though I've got the full 620 gear, I like coming back to that and seeing new pieces of gear and then like 500 honor points. It's just, it's very nice. And then, of course, the Nemesis missions that go along with the Gladiator Sanctum. I just think that's a really cool building. I see buildings like the Salvage Yard, which I know is you know, not the same size of a building, but I see buildings like that, and it's all that building is good for is taking salvage crates from your follower missions and opening them up. And after opening about 75 of them, I haven't found anything particularly exciting. It's usually just gray items, occasionally green items, but of course that is how you get your tokens for upgrading your followers' armor. So basically, the Salvage Yard is something to upgrade your followers' armor, and I don't think that's a very exciting thing. I've got the building, but I don't find that one exciting at all. I guess the second one that I find exciting is the stables. I really like the stables, not because it does anything itself as a function, and truthfully I'll probably get rid of it after I've completed all the mount training. I've got 4 out of the 6 mounts now. But I think it's cool, especially early on. If you're watching this and have, you know, place any value on what I say, then I suggest you get the stables, like that being one of the first ones that you get, because at first you're going to be starved for resources. You're going to need those garrison resources, and of course we all want cool mounts. So if you get the stables, you know, you'll be given a bunch of dailies, and after like the second day or third day, you're gonna have like 6 dailies, and they give you 20 garrison resources each. So, you know, if you got 6 of them, you're getting 120 garrison resources just by doing those dailies, and they're all very easy because it's 6 separate daily missions. But if you're doing them right, it'll be 3 different locations that you're going to. Because you'll have, like, let's say you're doing the Meadow Stomper and then the whatever the Cleft Hoof thing is. Let's say you have a mission for each one of those, but on both of those missions you have to go and kill Iron Boar. Then you'll just, you know, you'll go to that one location, you'll kill him once with the Meadow Stomper, and then you'll kill him another time with the Cleft Hoof. So it's and as you're going through it, you'll probably have 2 of each. So it takes about 10 minutes to do all of them because they're usually all in the same zone. At least, well, I mean, that's, you know, the first couple ones are in different areas, but after that, they're mostly in Nagrand. But I think the stables is a very good pick because it gives you that boost in resources every day. You know, if you got the 6 of them, you're pretty much getting as many resources out of doing those dailies as you are from your garrison cache. You know, beside your town hall. So you know you're doubling up pretty much. I guess the one building or area that I have not used at all is the fishing hole or fishing, you know, shack or whatever. I don't know why. You know, every day it gives a daily quest, and I probably by now, if I would have done it, I would have really made an impact on my fishing skill, because that's one that's always fallen behind. I think it's like at 400 and something right now, and that's not one that I actively try to get up. But I haven't used it. I haven't actually really done any fishing in Draenor. I did a little bit, and then got the little, like, you get the little bits of fish that you have to combine 10 or 20 of them to make a certain kind of fish. But I found that to be too tedious, and I haven't messed with it yet. So I haven't used that building. I actually wish you could get rid of some of those buildings, like the herb garden. I am an alchemist, but I have way too many herbs. It's ridiculous. And if I want more, I'll just go out in the world and get more. I wish I could take that out and put another small building there. But oh well, you can't. What else? I don't know. I guess one thing to talk about that I've seen, others talk about too, is flying mounts. That seems to be a big deal for people. And honestly, my 2 cents, I'm glad we don't have it. I'm really glad. And I know I've talked about this already, but it's just it's one of those things that people keep saying. Like I said before, with resources, we don't really need flying mounts for resources anymore because of garrisons. And I think I've had an overall better experience with the expansion because there's no flying. And that's what I can attribute it to, because there's really not much other than, well, okay, let me just stop myself there. The story in Draenor is fantastic. I think it flows better than any other expansion we've had. Maybe minus Wrath. Wrath had a pretty nice kind of story. But we have a fantastic story here. But okay, if we put the story aside, let's say you're one of these people that just click through the quest text and don't read it. There's really not much difference between Mists of Pandaria and Draenor in terms of questing. It's because with Mists of Pandaria, I feel like I rushed. I didn't feel like I needed to see the content. I rushed through Mists of Pandaria, doing whatever I could. If dungeons were the thing to give me XP at the moment, that's what I was doing. And in about a day and a half, 2 days, I jumped up to level 90. And then after I got my flying, I went back and completed all the quests. I knew that I was going to be getting flying at 90, so I just rushed through. In Draenor, I've taken all the quests to their end. Like, if you look at my achievement list, I have all the achievements for completely going through the zones. And if you go back and look at the Mist of Pandaria, quest achievements, I probably have maybe one. Same on other characters with the Wrath content and everything. It's because that it's like whenever you get the flying, you say you're going to go back and do this stuff, and some people do. Some people do go back and just experience all of that, but you're not experiencing it in the same way if you've got flying. You're doing it quicker. It should be a con because you're not doing it as efficiently if you're flying, but it's or if you're not flying, but it's more organic, it's more authentic whenever you're doing it without flying, whenever you can't fly. And because of the fact that there is no flying, I took the time and went through all these zones. I went through all the quests because I knew that there was no reason to rush to 100 because I can't do any raids at 100. I mean, I can now, but at the time, I couldn't do any raids at 100. I couldn't fly at 100. There's no PvP season yet at 100. The only thing I would even really be rushing towards is the level 3 garrison or PvPing an Ashran. But PvPing an Ashran takes people, and not a lot of people were 100 at that point. So it's like there's not really anything to rush to, and as a product of that, if there's nothing to rush towards, take your time, you know? Which is what I did, and even though it only took me 2 days, I took my time and did the quests. You know, I completed all the zones because that was something that I made a conscious decision of that before the expansion came out, and I think it worked in my favor, and I think other people are doing that as well, and that's why this expansion is, you know, way better received. It's doing more things better. So that's what I think about that. You know, it's like I said, here we are 3 weeks later. Actually, yesterday was the day that highmaul opened up on normal and heroic difficulties. It has yet to be released on LFR. And, you know, the mythic version is not available yet. And I have yet to be accepted into a pre-made, so I can't really share any experience with that because I'm leaving it in the hands of other people to decide whether or not I get into a group. And I know the obvious solution to that would be to create my own, but I'm not good at raid leading. I don't like that aspect. I don't like doing that. I would rather join somebody else's group. But my gear level is sufficient, way sufficient, but I haven't got accepted, and I really haven't tried that much. I tried on probably 3 or 4 different occasions in the past 2 days to, you know, to try to get myself invited into a bunch of different groups, but they either didn't respond or I only actually had about 3 that declined, but the others just didn't respond to it. So I have yet to get into highmaul. And have yet to do anything with the PvP season. I need to get on the ball with that. But if I become active in this PvP season, this will be the first PvP season that I have actually participated in. You know, we have, you know, the new seasons whenever they happen. I'll do the battlegrounds. I'll do stuff like that, and I'll gain a crap ton of honor for each season. But only one other time, and it was during Wrath, have I ever joined an arena team and actually did some, and I was awful. I was horrible. We won maybe 3 out of like 25. So I recognized that it wasn't my strong suit. I wasn't getting conquest for losing, so I decided it was not worth the waste of time. So, but that is one aspect. For whatever reason, getting rid of the PvP stats means the world to me. I don't know why, but it seems like there's no advantage if somebody's decked out in resilience. There's no advantage to that. Now, I mean, if you have, like, as of now, 675 PvP gear, you know, that's the blue item gear, that's what it scales up to. Hypothetically, if we had PvE gear that was at 675, they would be, you know, relatively equally matched, which I think is amazing. That it's not a matter of if you have the PvP gear, it's how high is the gear level, you know? So if I've got full maxed out raiding gear, I could still take down somebody that is decked out in PvP gear. Now I like how they scale it up, because that means that the only people at high rating gear, the only people you're going to be taking down is the moderate to low PvPers. But it's still not going to be like you're getting just ridiculously ganked. If somebody in the high PvP gear comes and tries to kill you, you're probably going to lose, but you have a better chance of survival. It's more based on how well you play, which I like. I like that a lot. So I'll probably really get involved in the PvP. I suck at it right now, so that I don't have that going for me. But I can pick it up. I can learn. It's just another thing that is worth revisiting that I haven't really revisited in a while. I haven't done any kind of pet battle at all in Draenor. I had been doing it in the weeks leading up to Draenor as preparation, just because I didn't have any level 25 pets, and I knew everything in Draenor would be level 25. But I haven't done any of that yet. I really am interested in getting all the monuments for, because they have the monuments that you can put in your garrison. One of them's for killing 5,000 players in Draenor, another one's for 2,000 pet battles, one's for having full mythic gear. So I'm interested in getting that, just because I'm all about having, visual displays of my success. Because achievements, I'm very, very much an achievement whore. I love achievements. But, anything that can visually add to that. They use like mounts and pets to be visual, real world things that you can use to show that you've achieved a certain thing, or titles and stuff like that. But I think it only makes sense that if we have garrisons to put visual things in the garrison. And speaking of visual things in your garrison, I like in the level 3 garrison that or the town hall that they have that back room that has all your not all, but some of your archaeology stuff that you can get. I'm not sure which ones count towards it to be able to be displayed, but I really think that's cool. I think the fact that you can bring a room to life like that with your achievements, I think is more an incentive to go out and do it. And I think archaeology is one of those things that not a lot of people do. And I like that in this expansion they've made it to where because some people, some people they feel like they're so behind on these professions that they don't continue them in new expansions. And I was like this too, because in Wrath, in Cataclysm, and Mists of Pandaria, or actually not in Mists of Pandaria, in Wrath and Cataclysm, my main was my DK, and I had already had him maxed out in archaeology, but then I switched my main to my warrior, and he didn't have the archaeology. I wasn't going to spend the time to go back and do archaeology on him, so I just didn't do it. And I think that if a lot of this goes, undone and unused, that you're going to fall more and more behind. So all of throughout Mists of Pandaria on my main, I just didn't do archaeology because he wasn't high enough. I would have had to have gone back and gotten the skill up high enough to see the dig sites in Pandaria. So I just didn't do it. But I like how they've done it in Draenor, where they whatever skill level you are, you can still dig stuff up there. Same with the professions. They've got stuff that only requires you to be level skill level 1, but you can use the resources that you get out of Draenor to build that up, which I think is wonderful. I think that a lot of people are upset about it because it allows people to just jump right up there to the highest skill or whatever. I think it's good because we've got 10 years of content here. That's 10 years of these professions that you're going to have to go to the location to to gather these different resources from these different expansions. I think it makes sense that, you know, we're in year 10. Let's make it to where, you know, 'cause let's face it, all that gear that you're crafting to, you know, get that skill up isn't gear you're going to use. You're just going to either disenchant it or sell it, you know, like vendor it. And so I think it makes sense that, you know, not to have to worry with all that. Just, we're in this expansion now. Let's use these resources to be used for the crafting. And I think other games could learn from this, because you have games like EverQuest, EverQuest 2, that, you know, it's also on its 10th year, and it could benefit from this sort of thing where it's, you know, having to go to all these places to gather all these resources. I think it makes sense to kind of, you know, clean it up a little bit. You know, things can get stacked on top of each other over years of expanding. And I think Blizzard has done a really good job with this expansion, with kind of dialing it back, cleaning it up, doing the stat squish that they did, getting rid of some of the buttons that we don't need or that were, you know, redundant or whatever. I think as a whole, this expansion is the best one we've ever had. Has to be the best one we've ever had. It rivals Burning Crusade in terms of quest content, I think. I still feel like Wrath as a whole was kind of the peak. You know, because it was, for one thing, it was a very, very iconic Warcraft story, but also I think they had a lot of the great ideas with that. I think, but I'm excited to see how we expand in this expansion. Whether or not they'll add flying, that's something I'm really, really curious to see. I feel like it would break things. I've heard a couple of other people on YouTube kind of make the suggestion that perhaps they will add a secondary island, you know, maybe like a quest hub, something like that, that is apart from the, you know, from the Draenor world, but allow flying in that questing hub or that questing island or whatever. That's a good idea. That's a good way to, you know, the content, the questing content in Draenor will always be, you know, unable to fly, but you still have the flying on relevant content. Because I feel like if it's only on a certain island, people won't be compelled to, you know, speed level to be able to get the flying. And it also means that even at level 100, even if you can get flying, if it's on another island, you'll still have the full experience if you decide to go back and do the questing content on Draenor. You'll still have that proper experience when it comes to questing, which I think that's an important thing to preserve and maintain. Yeah, but that's pretty much it. That's my thoughts on the expansion so far. You know, we're 3 weeks in. I'll definitely do more because there's a lot of things I didn't talk about, and there's probably things that I talked about too much. But that's pretty much it. Thank you guys so much for watching. Be sure to like this video if you liked it, dislike it if you disliked it. Subscribe if you want to see more of what I do, or, you know, perhaps more interesting things that I do. I'm going to be putting up another video that's going to be talking about some of the things that I'm going to be doing. Better quality content is coming really, really soon. I say better quality in terms of sound quality and video quality, and the games that I'm doing. That's about to get a huge overhaul very, very, very soon, actually in the next 2 weeks. So subscribe if you want to see more of that, or leave a comment, you know, tell me what you thought. Constructive criticism is always good, and I'll see you next time, guys. Thank you so much for watching. Bye-bye.